Good morning. Let's continue with A View from the Zoo. This chapter right here is called Be Careful, You Might Let Out a Bear. I'll never forget the feelings I experienced when two shiny new keys were pressed firmly into my trembling hands. They weren't just any keys. These keys gave me access to all the cages at the Los Angeles Zoo. The supervisor, a crusty veteran, admonished me solemnly concerning the use and care of these keys. "Richmond," he said, "these keys will let you in to care for millions of dollars worth of animals. Some of them could never be replaced, but you could be. If you catch my drift, some of the animals wouldn't hurt themselves if they got out, and more significantly, they might hurt and even kill somebody. You wouldn't want that on your conscience. And Richmond, don't lose those keys. The big boys in administration don't take it too well if you lose the keys. It works out best if you can't hear your name much until you pass the probation 6 months from now." The longer we talked, the heavier the keys became. I discovered that most of the veterans, 5 years or more of service, had let out animals, and if I stayed at the zoo, sooner or later it would happen to me. Somehow my job security was tied to how I cared for the keys, and they seemed heavier still. He gave me several tips on key care, use, and safety, and emphasized the value of getting into a routine. Consistency is your best safeguard, he said. Do it the same way at every exhibit. Develop a good habit and don't vary from your routine. I took him seriously and performed flawlessly for 4 months. I received sterling evaluations for my safety habits. Then something happened. I couldn't tell you why my routine varied, but somehow it did, and with the most dangerous animal at the zoo. Ivan was a polar bear who weighed well over 900 pounds and had killed 2 prospective mates. He hated people and never missed an opportunity to grab anyone passing by his cage. Many of us had experienced nightmares featuring Ivan, and one of the thoughts most discussed among the keepers was the horrifying question, what if Ivan got out? For more than 100 consecutive workdays I had cared for this nightmare, never coming close to making a mistake. And then I let him out of his night quarters into the sparkling morning sunshine by pulling a lever which lifted a 500-pound steel guillotine door. No sooner had he passed under it than I realized that I had left the steel door that had given me access to the outside exhibit, where he now was, wide open. At any moment he might be walking down the hall and around the corner. My inclination was to run. Not wanting to be fired, I chose to stay. I lifted the guillotine door again, and to my relief Ivan was in view. He was a creature of routine, and he always spent the first hour of the morning pacing. His pattern was L-shaped. He would walk from the door, 5 steps straight out, and then turn right for 3 steps. He would then rock back and forth and come back to the guillotine door, which he would bump with his head. He would repeat the cycle for 1 hour and then rest. I timed his pacing cycle and determined that I had 17 seconds to run down the hallway and shut the open door. I staked my life on his consistency. He didn't seem to notice the wide open door, which was unusual. Animals tend to notice any changes in their environment. I decided that when he made his next turn, I would run down the L-shaped concrete hallway, hoping upon hope that I would not see Ivan. He turned and I ran. With every step my knees weakened. My heart pounded so hard I felt sure it would burst from fear. I made the corner and faced the critical moment. Ivan was still out of sight. I lunged for the door handle. As I reached out for the handle, I looked to the right, and there was the bear 8 feet away. Our eyes met. His were cold and unfeeling, and I'm sure mine expressed all the terror that filled that moment. I pulled the huge steel door with all my strength. It clanged shut, and the clasp was secured. My knees buckled, and I fell to the floor, racked with the effects of too much adrenaline. I looked up, and Ivan was staring at me through the viewing window at the hallway door. I had almost let the bear out, the worst bear at the zoo. Recently, our families studied disciplines that could help us stand firm in our faith. The development of good habits is one of the keys to our becoming mature. Consider Hebrews 5:14. It says, "But solid food is for the mature, who because of practice have their senses trained to discern good and evil." Consistent living produces its own protection. Seek it, cherish it, desire it. It may keep you from letting out a bear. We'll see you next time.